What color was Jesus? I was asked this today outside of the metro stop. I was administering ashes for Ash Wednesday, and this young black guy walks straight up to me and he says, "What color was Jesus?" And I am so glad that I know the right answer, because in my younger years, I would have said something completely different and completely wrong. And I told him, Jesus was black, and his face lit up. And he said, "I never imagined in my wildest dreams that a white priest would admit that Jesus was black." And here's the thing, Jesus was obviously dark-skinned. That's unquestionable. But he was also ontologically black. He was born into an oppressive empire, and his life was threatened from day one. He knew what it was like to be hunted and to have the illusion of freedom. As James Cone said, the cross of Christ was the lynching tree in America. Jesus was lynched by Rome, just like so many black people in America. I'm not sure why Jesus being black is so threatening to some white Christians, but it is. You'll find out in the comments. So if it's threatening to you, maybe this Lent is an opportunity to go inward and find out why your Jesus needs to be white. Because Jesus was absolutely black. And that truth matters because if we're going to have a relationship with him, we need to recognize him first. I love you. All of you.
So I can't be the only person on the fence about this whole black Jesus and Russia thing. But what more I'm questioning is why? Why would you post it now? Like, why now? And then you see everyone who is not black saying, oh, it doesn't matter about the color. Race shouldn't matter. Jesus is Jesus. But y'all was just trying to prove that this man was white. Now that they're proving that he's black. But this is the thing that I've always said. For the simple fact that they've hidden this stuff to repaint a picture of someone that they're not. They literally took some history and repainted it with a whole nother color. That's creepy. But one, why are you trying to show us history now? Like, why now? Like, is something coming and y'all are scared and y'all are trying to get on our good side? I've always said, there's going to be a day where the people of the transatlantic slave trade, we will rise or someone is coming to get us. And when they come to get us, everybody's going to try to act like we are all one or we were all friends. No. Get him. Get him. Right there. Him too. But one thing I'm starting to see, a lot of Africans are starting to come out and say, a lot of blacks were already where they were at. The transatlantic slave trade was to mix us all up and to make it seem like we came from certain places when in all reality, we were already here. Because if you take the Aboriginal Australians, they left from Africa to Asia all the way down to Australia. But you mean to tell me nobody came to the Americas? But they said that when the Arab and the Muslims took over Egypt and North Africa, they sent those slaves to the east. But those same slaves that were sent to the east were sent to the west to be shipped to the Americas. It's like they moved us around so much for us to lose where we actually came from. Slavery existed in Africa prior to the transatlantic slave trade. In fact, the earlier trans-Saharan slave trade sent more enslaved Africans east to the Muslim world. Over many centuries, then would be transported to the west, to the Americas. Now, this part is a conspiracy theory. I honestly feel like, y'all know how they say ancient times were like thousands of years ago? I actually feel like it was just recent. We were the ancient people and they destroyed the old world and made their own new world. Just look up the quantum theory. And when y'all talk about CERN, y'all literally put me on game because I never knew about CERN. CERN ties in with the quantum theory. And they talk about how the Pope added 300 years to the calendars. Just look this shit up. Just go look up any archaeologist. They say they can't find any remnants. That's what they call it, remnants. They can't find any remnants from the Stone Age. The Middle Ages, they can't find shit. As if it never happened. That's why I said, what if they're just putting all these stories together like the Roman period? The Roman period, they're literally using other people's names from prehistoric times. Like, I've always wondered, are these timelines and these ages just storylines just to fit in a timeline so it could seem like everything was so far away when in all reality, it just happened? I don't know, it's just a theory, but for the simple fact that they have to hide black excellence in our history and they have to whitewash it, something ain't right. It's something very weird about that.
I believe Jesus Christ was black, and the mainstream is trying to hide that information. And here are the verses that lead me to believe that he was black. This is Revelation chapter 1, verses 13 through. This is John speaking. John was an apostle of Jesus Christ, and he's having a vision on an island, okay? And he's saying, and in the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like a son of man, clothed in a robe reaching to the feet and girded across his chest with a golden sash. His head and his hair were white, like white wool, like snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire, and his feet were like burnished bronze. The reason why I think Jesus is black is because of this part, burnished bronze. This is a brown color. Let me show you. This is burnished bronze, as you can see on Google. You can Google this yourself. This is a black person. Now, some people will be like, oh, well, John's just having a vision. Doesn't mean it's actually what it was. But you know that God is giving John the vision, right? God is allowing John to see all this stuff, the future, to see Christ. And God showed him Christ as a burnished bronze colored man. Okay, so that's what he looks like. Now, if you're already triggered by this video and you find yourself saying, nah, Jesus was not black, and don't you say that he was. If that's how you feel, then possibly there's a deeper and darker, pun intended, issue within you that you need to check. John continues, this is chapter 4 of Revelation. Immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was standing in heaven, and one sitting on the throne. And he who was sitting was like a jasper stone and a sardius in appearance. Sardius is a reddish brown. This is a dedicated red, brown, dark tan color. Is there any historical backing for Jesus being black outside of the Bible? Well, there's certainly a lot of artwork that depicts Jesus as black. This is a painting from 1797 in Russia of a black Jesus. And some people might be like, oh, well, maybe they just didn't have the skin color for white. Well, look at the halo. The halo is certainly light colored. They could have painted Jesus white if they wanted to, but they didn't. They didn't. Why would they do that? Because Jesus is probably actually black. This is a 1497 painting in Russia. Look at these apostles. These are the disciples. Black men with afros. Afro, 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 all over. Jesus, the Messiah, as a black man with an afro. These are white Russians painting a black Jesus and black disciples. So you got to ask yourself, why are they doing this? Are they doing this because they just love black people so much? Or are they just trying to be accurate? I could do this all day, really. There's all kinds of old school artwork of black Jesus, black disciples, black Mary, black angels, black saints, all kinds of stuff. And some of you guys may be saying, oh, well, what does it matter? It just doesn't matter. It's not a salvation issue. It doesn't matter what his color is. It does matter. It mattered enough for the mainstream and the Matrix to change his skin color, so it matters to know the truth. If Jesus turns out his skin color was turquoise, I want to know that. Why? Because I want to know the truth. If it turned out that he was translucent, I want to know that he was translucent. If it turned out that he was factually and historically white, I want to know that, and I would accept. But it seems like we're being lied to about Jesus being black. And I got all kinds of stuff to say about, being black and what it really means.
So this comment says Jesus was an Arab Jew, not black. So first off, a few things about me that you should know. I was raised as a Christian. Started off in a Baptist church, then started going to a non-denominational church. I've read multiple versions of the Bible from front to back multiple times, as well as have read it in Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. I was ordained at 16 and have since spent time deconstructing Christianity and where it stems from, its origins, its history, and its effects on America, especially its effects on black people in America. Now, I say all that to make clear that I am not a Christian, but I will explain to you why I made this shirt after I address the comment. So one thing you gotta understand, right, is that in biblical times, race was not a thing. Now, race is a modern notion, and during the 16th to 19th centuries, it was used more to describe people's nation or ethnic group. It's during the 19th century that it took on the meaning of physical anthropology through scientific racism. Now, you say that Jesus was an Arab, right? Well, what is an Arab? An Arab is a cultural and linguistic term. It refers to those who speak Arabic as their first language. Arabs are united by culture and by history. Arab is not a race. Some have blue eyes and red hair. Others are dark-skinned. Many are somewhere in between. Now, biblically speaking, Arabs, according to the book of Genesis, are the descendants of Ishmael, the 12 tribes of Ishmael, to which the early Muslims are descended. Now, a lot of people like to say that Jesus was from the Middle East, right? So that automatically makes him an Arab, right? Well, you also need to understand that the Middle East did not exist in biblical times. That was not coined until the late 19th century by the British, thanks to Eurocentric geographical terms: Near East, Far East, Middle East. Now, according to biblical encyclopedias, in the Bible, Arabians refers to the nomads who live in the deserts of Arabia, especially in the northwestern part. They are also known by the general term people of the East. Here are some of the tribes of Arabians that were named in the Bible. Now, in the Old Testament, Arabia was often referred to as Kedem, or the East. Now, was Jesus from Arabia? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Yeah, that's right. Jesus was born in a place called Bethlehem, which is a city south of Jerusalem. Let's take it to a map. Here you can see Bethlehem, and here you can see Jerusalem. This is where Jesus was born. But that really doesn't tell you a whole lot, right? Because we're so zoomed in. So let's zoom out a little bit. Now here's the kingdom of Israel in the time of Jesus. And here you can see again, this is where Jesus was born. So for Jesus to be Arabian, he would have needed to be born in Arabia, according to the Bible, right? So where's Arabia? There it is, over here. And where's Bethlehem? Over here. So Bethlehem is not in Arabia. No, Bethlehem is in Israel. You see this yellow line here? Yeah, that's where it stops, the borders of Saudi Arabia. Now, the red border here shows where Israel was, right? The Israeli kingdom, the kingdom of King David. But even if we look closely at where these borders for Saudi Arabia end, Jerusalem and Bethlehem are way over there, not within the borders of Arabia. So then by biblical standards, Jesus was not Arabian, therefore was not an Arab. Now, your second point is that Jesus was a Jew. Now, we know that Jesus was in fact a Galilean Jew. We hear him referred to as the Galilean quite often. But what is a Galilean? The Galileans are descendants of northern Israelites, not northern Arabians. Interesting. We also know that Jesus was descended from the tribe of Judah. Do you see that listed here for the tribes of Arabia? You tell me. So we need to look up what it is to be Jewish. Well, Jewish people are a group originating from those Hebrews and Israelites in the Levant and whose traditional religion is Judaism. Jewish ethnicity, religion, and community are highly interrelated, as Jewish is an ethno-religion, and not all Jewish people follow it. That's right, Jewish is not a race, it's an identity. That's right, Jewish includes individuals of enormously diverse origins and physical appearances. Jewish people cannot be easily designated a specific race. And fun fact, religion is not central to the lives of most U.S. Jewish people. People who are Jewish by religion are much less likely than Christian adults to consider religion to be very important in their lives. And among Jewish people as a whole, far more report that they find meaning in spending time with their family and friends, engaging with arts and literature, being outdoors, and pursuing their education or careers than they do in their religious faith. So I say all of that to say this. The purpose of my shirt was not to debate about what race Jesus was. My shirt was to point out that Jesus was woke. If you read the quote of Jesus that I have here, it says, "Stand for good," right? "Seek justice and correct oppression." So Jesus was woke, because that's what woke fundamentally means. Now, I just decided that since white people decided they get to make Jesus look like them, I get to make Jesus look like how I want Jesus to look like. Because if you are an actual Christian, right, a true follower of Jesus and his teaching, you wouldn't be bothered by seeing him look like this instead of the blue-eyed, white Jesus that we've gotten for all these years. Because if you're a Christian, like you say you are, if you're not racist like you all claim to be, this should not bother you.
My guy. You are most definitely wrong, because if it didn't matter, it wouldn't have been written. So a lot of people would like to know, what color is Jesus? What color is God's spirit? So let's talk about it. And before I get started, please understand that this is not about the color, but it's about the truth. Yes, the Messiah was a black man, and God made his son in his image. God says in the Bible that his spirit is the color of jasper, sardine stone. In Revelation, it says his head and his hairs were white like wool. This is the color of white woolly hair. Who the only ones with woolly hair that stand out from the rest of the people? Black people. It said his feet was unto the color of fine brass, burnt in a furnace. Now this picture is the color of fine brass burnt in a furnace. Extremely black. The Messiah was a very, very dark man. And I know a lot of y'all like to say, no, he's Middle Eastern. So if y'all believe that he's Middle Eastern, then y'all should know that the Middle East was a part of Africa, right? Full of black people. Dark black people. Wait, but y'all love to say, no, he's an olive skin color. Well, let me tell you something. I only know 2 different color olives. The green olive and the dark black olive. So tell me which one it is. There's pictures from the 13th century of a black Messiah and black saints. To be honest, almost everybody in the Bible was black. And a lot of them had locks. That's why I'm kind of glad that a lot of us are coming back to our roots. A lot of us are starting to get locks, because it's really a part of who we are. So the Messiah had hair like wool that was as white as snow. He was the color of fine brass burnt in a furnace. He was from the Middle East, which back in those times was Northeast Africa. So I don't know who this man is, or what agenda they trying to put out. Even if they didn't believe that the Messiah was black, the least they could have did was make the hair white, make the eyes red. Like I don't know who they thought they was fooling with that image. Like that's the true deception of Christ. Most of those people in the Bible was blacker than coal. And a lot of them would tell you that their skin is black upon them. And please understand that this is not racist. It's the truth. And all I want to do is wake my people up to who they really are. Because we are more important than y'all ever know.
Do you know that Jesus was black? Do you know that Jesus could have been pink with purple polka dots and his blood would have still saved me from eternal damnation? This may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't really think it matters what color Jesus was. What matters is what he did for us on the cross. Because no matter what color Jesus was, his blood was red and his sacrifice is what gives you eternal life. Amen.